Well, Abu Qatada, whose real name is Omar Othman, is a Jordanian Palestinian citizen who was born in Bethlehem. He was sentenced to life in prison in his absence by a Jordanian court in 2000 for involvement in a plot to bomb tourist targets. Now, he's been in custody in the UK since 2005, fighting extradition to Jordan. The court in Strasbourg said it was highly likely that evidence against Abu Qatada in Jordan had been obtained by torturing his co-defendants. And joining me now in the studio is Wyss. She's a researcher with Amnesty International. Thanks very much indeed for coming into the studio. So the European Court of Human Rights didn't particularly have a concern about the insurances, the deal that Jordan and the UK had agreed between them that Abu Qatada wouldn't be tortured if he went back to Jordan. They were more concerned about the fact that his co-defendants might have been tortured, and that tainted evidence, if you like, would end up in court.
Yeah, I mean, for Amnesty International, I really think the decision by the European Court of Human Rights is essentially a bit of a case of one step backwards, two steps forward. I mean, yes, the court has made it very clear you can't deport an individual back to a country where they would face trial, and evidence in that trial would be evidence that was likely obtained from torture. The court makes it clear that such evidence, the use of that evidence, is illegal, it's immoral, and it fundamentally undermines the right to fair trial. In fact, it nullifies it, essentially. However, the court has disappointingly found that assurances would be sufficient to ensure that Abu Qatada was not at risk of torture and ill treatment, and that is unfortunately a real setback for human rights protection.
So you're basically saying that any deal struck between the UK and a country like Jordan isn't worth the paper that it's printed on. You simply don't trust the Jordanians to keep their side of the bargain. Is that what you're saying?
For Amnesty International, we have two key concerns of diplomatic assurances. The first is that resort to diplomatic assurances undermines the absolute prohibition against torture. It allows states essentially to circumvent their legal obligations and seek sort of unenforceable bilateral promises from states that are known to torture, that have clearly tortured. And the second key concern is that the dynamics of torture really makes these assurances unreliable. They have inherent deficiencies in them. Torture is practiced in secret. Individuals concerned are scared of reprisal, so they don't report it. They're not legally enforceable, these diplomatic assurances. They lack mechanisms to ensure that they're abided by. And in the end, states, also the receiving state and the sending state, they don't really have any incentives to say that the assurance is broken. So we really think that they are both inherently deficient and they undermine this absolute prohibition against torture.
All right, must leave it there. Wyss, good to talk to you. Thanks very much indeed for coming in.